Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the JJSports podcast. I'm Josh,
I'm Joey.
and we're going to kick it off right away. Joey, NBA, a lot of things going on, primarily with acquisitions and signings all over the place. But I know that you specifically had some names in mind to talk about, and that there's potentially a common theme here. What would you like to say about it?
Well, Josh, today's theme is the Houston Rockets. Because for a long time, we've been talking about the Houston Rockets, and we've been putting them on this very high pedestal of elitism that we assume that they're going to be like the best contender every year, and every year they just fall short. And guess what? They had to change. They had to move on because of this. You know? They had to move on. They had to move on from who they had in their front office. So the first news I want to share that's related to the Rockets is this. The former president of operations, GM, Daryl Morey, has been approached to do that now for the 76ers. What do you think of this hiring?
You know, I'll say it as one thing only because I'm not so 100% sure where the 76ers are holding these days. I know that 2 years ago they had that crazy loss to the Raptors in Game 7 of the second round of the playoffs. I did not follow them so much this year. I was not 100% aware of what happened, but I will say that I didn't hear much of them being really contenders this year to any extent. And for a guy who's been the general manager of the Rockets, a team that even though has fallen short numerous times, this guy has made moves to get them to places that they could have written a better story for themselves. And that, I feel like, I don't know if that's necessarily on the coaches or on the players, maybe because they didn't try to change much about it for a couple of years. But I mean, he brought in players and acquisition for people who got them to higher stages in the game. So I like the move. It's just a matter of also what he has to work with in Philly, though.
Right. I'm assuming he's probably going to somehow package a big trade for one of his stars to somewhere else for a different star. I feel like he's just going to change it all up there, shake it up. Because, they're nothing special there in Philly right now. So, they're all right. But I think he's going to shake up a big trade so that he can make them contenders again, like real contenders, not just like Eastern Conference playoff appearances, you know, like real ones.
And I mean, I'll also give him credit because it's tough to do that. Like the Western Conference, in my opinion, has been a better division despite the name LeBron James being in the East his entire career. But you had the Juggernauts and the Warriors and the Rockets, right? And when Durant and Westbrook were together back in OKC, it's been a lot more competitive, I think, in the West. I think he has had a harder job there, and I think that he should have a nice time adjusting to the Eastern Conference, despite the mess they might be in right now with players.
I mean, he probably will have an easier time because it's the East, hopefully. But we'll see. All right, that's the first piece of news related to the Rockets. The second piece of news related to the Rockets is not just their GM, their coach that they fired, Mike D'Antoni, has been hired, and he will coach again. Kind of. The Brooklyn Nets have just agreed to sign him as an assistant to Steve Nash. So his former player, who's the coach now, will be his coach, and he'll be his assistant. Do you think that's awkward? Do you think it's a good pickup? I mean, do you think maybe this is just like a cover-up that like Nash is like a puppet, because they want a star, but really D'Antoni's going to do the play calling and stuff like that?
Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, do you think this is just like, I don't know, is this awkward or is this just like really clever because they want it to look like Nash is doing all the work, but it's really D'Antoni?
Well, I would definitely see, I definitely think that there's a little bit of kind of like a weird feeling toward D'Antoni because you said, he coached Nash. The thing is, the reality is that they're professionals still, right? And, all that stuff that goes on, behind the scenes, right? They don't show it out on the court. I'm sure that he's not thinking like, oh my God, like I'm literally the assistant coach to a guy I coached.
Yeah, but Josh,
I don't think. Yeah, I think he's going to be professional about it. I think if anything, it's actually a good thing because they've been together in the past, right? And the guy who's, I think this is Nash's first year coaching, if I have that correct. Correct me if I'm wrong.
he's never coached in his life, so yes.
Never coached in his life. Okay, so this could be a learning experience. Maybe there's a reason of all people they brought D'Antoni to come in and help Nash out, because I'm sure Nash is the right guy. He's been around the sport in terms of a playing standpoint, more recent than D'Antoni, unless if D'Antoni ever played. But I like the move. I like the move, and I don't think I think that it might feel a little weird at first, but I think down the road it'll seem to make more sense.
Okay. So that's what happened with there, right? That's one front office job, two front office jobs. Now we have the final one that affects Houston, but potentially in a good way. They just named Steven Silas as their new head coach, Houston Rockets. He previously spent the last 2 seasons in Dallas under Rick Carlisle's staff. And, I don't know how much you know about the Mavericks, but I would say Rick Carlisle is one of the most underrated coaches in the NBA. Like he does a lot with nothing. I mean, yeah, he has Luka, but he really does a lot with nothing to me. So I think, someone that picks the brain of a coach like that might have something to him. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, I really don't know much about the Mavericks. Aside for Luka.
Who does?
Exactly. So I feel like it's a little bit of a shot in the dark. It's kind of like, I feel like, even though I don't know how old Silas is, if you can get a confirmation on that. Like, is he?
I'll look that up. Hold on. Wait, am I sharing the search?
You are sharing the search, yes.
Just making sure. Okay, 47. Wow.
He's 47 years old. Okay, so I mean,
not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, I see it as I see it almost. I'll try to compare this to football, kind of. Not the sport, just like the idea of this kind of move itself. You've had guys, just like you say, Rick Carlisle's here. So with that being said, I mean, for a guy who could pick the brain of a good coach, right, or at least like what he has to work with, I feel like it's kind of something, for example, for anyone who follows football that watches this, to a guy like Joe Judge, a guy who spent years around Bill Belichick, right, one of the better coaches, who even in times, right, when it didn't look like they had a total juggernaut, still made things work. The most notable example would be, I think it was Super Bowl 53 when the Rams lost the Patriots, and the Patriots were nowhere near as good as they were expected to be or could have been. And yet now Judge is a head coach on another team, right? And, with all due respect to Judge, like, that team is nowhere near where they should be. Like, they are, really not having a great year, but they've shown promise. And I think similar to the way Judge has shown some forms of brilliance at moments, I feel like the inexperience may get to him a little bit. I feel like maybe it could end up the same way as Steve Silas, but then again, two completely different sports. So I don't know how it's going to play out. I like the move from an intellectual standpoint. I don't know what it's actually going to do though for this team.
So you bring up a great point about Joe Judge, because I think what people forget is that he not only has worked under Bill Belichick, he's actually also worked under Nick Saban. So those are arguably the greatest coaches in NFL and in the college football league of our generation. And he has learned under both of them. So he's a rookie head coach. There'll be learning curves. But if he –
I think same here.
Right. I'm saying, like, he's picked the brain of like – also, my previous point about Nash and D'Antoni also reminds me of the Giants a little bit, because they have Jason Garrett as their offensive coordinator. So, like, they have some experience on that end. A little different, though, because Judge isn't a player, and he's never coached before, but he has had a coaching type job.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's kind of, but like, you could definitely see some parallels there. Okay, I'm through with basketball. Screw the Rockets. We'll talk about them next week maybe. Let's talk about baseball. Josh, there's some big news that happened in the baseball recently, and I don't really care for it. so you might as well tell the story.
Yeah. So, okay. So, in case any of the viewers here are not able to tell, I'm a diehard Mets fan. You
I
know,
am not.
yeah. Joey's not a fan of it because his team doesn't have the richest owner in baseball right now. But let's go, boys. I mean,
Doesn't need it either.
Steve Cohen signed. Well, it's not official yet, but very likely to become official. That Steve Cohen, the deal has been approved by New York, and he is now very likely going to end up as the new Mets owner. Joey, I know that you don't have really any thoughts from a positive standpoint
I mean,
on
I'm
this.
positive that I don't care.
Okay, fine. So
Also,
if that's what you
he's
got,
some great neck, so don't mess with him.
yeah, that's true. So anyway, that I think is the biggest news. Joey, we're gonna keep it really short, okay? I know what I'd like. I said it last episode who I thought they were gonna go after, and what I think they needed to do. But I just want to ask you something. Do you see this as something the Mets have as just okay? We are gonna just go out and outspend everybody now, and basically become kind of like the Yankees of the National League. The reason I'm not saying the Dodgers have homegrown most of their pieces. Uh, really the only exceptions are Mookie Betts and David Price at this point. But other than that, I mean, the Yankees,
And
they've
just
paid for Cole, they've paid for Stanton, right? They're probably going to pay Judge soon. They've gone out, they've gotten pieces, they've got Paxton also, they've gone out on and gotten those guys on deals. But let me ask you, Cohen grew up he's been a lifelong Mets fan his whole life. He grew up a Mets fan. It was his dream to own the Mets. He finally made that dream, or is about to make that dream a reality. And on top of that, he's also a previous owner. He owned, I think it was anywhere from like 6 to 10% of the team last year. So it's not like he's just a new guy stepping in with a lot of money who can, outpay anyone else. It's a guy who's been with this organization, and he's not just going to make moves, right, to make moves. He's making moves because he knows what this team needs to do. Do you agree with that, or do you disagree with that?
I always say when it comes to new owners, keep in mind that there are times when you should get involved, there are times where you should stay out of it, and that you should have the knowledge to know the difference. Because the problem of having your owners involved too much is what brought us to this point. When an owner is involved too much, most of the time an owner is just supposed to be bankrolling, because usually they're just really rich and they don't really understand the sport. They just have the sport as equity, the franchise, but they don't care. Maybe they want them to win, but they don't know exactly how to do that, but they get involved anyway. Second of all, people really have to realize something here. You could be any team in the league. It doesn't have to be the Mets. If you get a new owner in this year, there are problems salary cap wise. And I know there's no salary cap, but you have to have a certain amount of budget because of the fact that there's no concession. There's no fans. You get a lot of money back. The reason why owners try to invest money into paying their teams, their players, is because they know they're going to get their money back from concessions and fans and all that stuff, And if we don't, I don't know if you know this, but baseball's in huge debt because of this season. They wanted to play the season really bad, but it really cost them a lot because they're in a lot of debt. And if it's like that this season, people are going to have to be really careful who they give big contracts to, because even though there's no salary cap, it's still going to cost them, because there's going to be no reason for them to want to give big contracts to people if they're not going to get an investment on a return. It's just I don't know. It's a whole thing. So I would tread carefully on those waters when you're thinking about giving mega contracts. I don't think there are going to be that many big contracts this season by any team. I'm sure the JTs and the Trevors and maybe the Springers will get a big contract, but I don't think anyone else is going to get a big contract. I really doubt it. In this year, it's just whatever. I'm rambling, but you understand.
Yeah, and let me ask you this last part to open it up. To close it up. For baseball, it's not going to be that long a segment today. Sorry to the fans or anyone who watches these. But
sorry.
Yeah, but regardless of that, you mentioned that with the debt that MLB has now built up over this past year. So let me ask you this: Steve Cohen, even though was a partial owner of the New York Mets last year, did not have the bulk of this franchise in terms of what he was paying for. He wasn't the one allocating money to go after certain players and play out last season. But now you have him coming in, right? And because he wasn't as high of a position last year, right, as he will have this year, he didn't lose. The pandemic hasn't really affected him nearly as badly as it's affected any of the other owners because he wasn't a full-on owner of the Mets. He was a partial owner. So obviously, I'm sure he did lose money to some extent there. But now he comes in not being nearly as unscathed as most of the other owners are. Do you think that's something the Mets have to take advantage of, or do you think are you going to stick with that point still?
I mean, I hear you, but
Now knowing this,
I hear you, but like he just got the job, man. Like you don't just rush when you get things done. You don't just go out there and just
and
immediately.
he is
boom.
doing that, by the way. Like he's giving money to what's it called? He said he's bringing back a bunch of people who were in the organization that ended up getting cut out of it before. I
Yeah,
think
but there
most
are
notably.
people, but it's a lot easier to bring people that were part of your thing than having people that have no association prior to buy into what you're trying to do here. It's coming off a little too strong. I don't know, like if for some people that works, but you gotta have a little bit more you gotta have a more relaxed approach, more patient outlook. You can't just go money hungry on everybody in a pandemic year. Everyone's gonna point fingers at those people that take big contracts. Don't you remember how we barely had a season this year because of money? You really want another like almost lockout strike, whatever this was. Like I don't want a 60-game season. Like it was okay, but I don't want another one. And it's gonna happen if people are gonna fight over contracts. It's not gonna be well for anybody. So I don't want that. And can we move
Okay.
on now? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get the hell out of here. All right. Football, man. This was one of the greatest football weeks this year, man. This was fantastic. Which game do you want to talk about first? I will share all the scores. Hold on one second.
I just want to say it's normally like me who has to open up with the answer to this question. I feel like you should be the one to pick it this week to start up.
Okay, but do we want to start on the best one or have that last?
Whatever your preference is. Your show at this point.
Okay, let's talk about the game that really showed me, wow, this is a game. That is the Steelers versus the Ravens. So I'm getting into the box score. This was a doozy, man. Every single play. There were other games like that was exciting till the end, but this game, like it literally came down in the last second. Like when you saw Lamar go for it, did you think there was any chance that he was gonna somehow evade that ferocious defense and somehow like win the game and make them finally lose? Like, did you think there was a shot?
Yeah, I honestly think he did. He's done it before. He's done it at times, and this was a team a much improved Steelers team from last year. That they really beat up on last year. I mean, they swept them in the season series, and this year, obviously, no to not many fans being in the stands in not even every stadium. And I think that M&T Bank is one of those exceptions, but where they're allowing fans to come in. But still, I don't think it's nearly obviously as much an advantage as if you would have had the place packed. And especially against a division rival. I mean, the Steelers were the only undefeated team coming into this game that was left in the NFL. And now they're still undefeated and very, very close, like already, to almost locking up a playoff spot in their division. I know the Ravens are only 5-2. I know there's a lot that could change. There's still 9 more weeks to come, or 9 more games to come for most teams. But I just, I really like what they did.
What do you think is the cause of this turnaround? I mean, last year they were kind of a joke. Do you think it's Ben? Because
I really do think so. Because he's a huge part to that offense. He's in my opinion, he's overall been a top 5 quarterback in the league the past decade. And I think that, even so, like he's farther into his career, he's been playing since the mid to late 2000s began. He still has it clearly. I mean, he's on the only undefeated team left, and it's not like they're a defensive a completely defensive-minded team. Like, they could score points clearly. The Ravens are a good defense. They put up 28 on them. They've been really good. And I feel like with all, the Patrick Mahomes these days and Lamar Jackson's, right, and Josh Allen emerging, right, and Justin Herbert really starting to pick it up despite his record, which isn't 100% his fault. Like, these are all guys who are starting to blossom. And I feel like now the guys who were, really at the prime of their career a couple of years ago, like anywhere really at the earlier part, of the 2010 decade when that began, are starting to get, overlooked now. And people aren't wrong to do it, but you can't count them out completely. And I think that's a mistake that people are making. I think the Steelers are a very dangerous team. I won't be surprised to see them win the title this year, honestly, at this point.
I feel like, I don't know if it's just me, I kind of want them to lose just so they can't get over themselves. Because then if they go 16-0 and then they don't make it to the Super Bowl, everyone's going to clown on them. But at least if they lose, it won't be as big of a pressure situation because they have lost before. You know what I mean? I think they need a loss because it's going to be way too – because the last time there was an undefeated team in the NFL, like in the regular season, they lost in the Super Bowl, I think we all know about that one.
Yeah.
So I don't want that to happen to Steelers. I'm fine if they win the Super Bowl, but I feel like if they don't lose, they're going to get so full of themselves that they're going to lose in the worst way possible. They're going to lose in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that would not be a pretty sight to see. The game that I'm really curious though, not to.
Are they playing the Chiefs? Is what I want to know. I'm gonna check that out.
That would be an interesting. But look, like to say it also though, the Steelers haven't exactly had the easiest schedule. We know that they almost lost a game to Tennessee last week. Right?
Sure.
If Stephen Gostkowski hits that field goal, who knows what happens in the end of that game? This game was not a give me because even after Lamar Jackson failed to get the first down on that quarterback draw play on fourth and short in his own, on the opposite side, I think that like they were inside the red zone. I think they were down at like the 13-yard line, something like that, and they needed like 2 or 3 yards to pick it up. Like the Steelers didn't run out the clock. The Ravens still got the ball back, and there was this is the last thing I really have to say about this game, just because I don't have anything more to say than what I'm about to. I'm not going to get into it, but I just have a question. If you were watching that game, then towards the end of it that there was a very controversial call where there was a Steeler down. The Ravens went to go and spike the ball, and the Steelers had to call a timeout. And the referees decided not to look back and see what time the injured player went down so they could put time back on the clock. So the Ravens could have had maybe another play or two to take a shot. But instead, they were stuck with 8 seconds left. They tried to get one play off to make it manageable, or a more manageable play. And in the end, I mean, it almost in the end, it was a pretty close play. It was broken up. But
very close.
Yeah. What do you think about that specific
I mean,
call?
the only time you're allowed to let clock go by so quickly like that, like you just lose time, is on a runoff. But this wasn't a runoff. They called timeout. So that's very poor officiating from the NFL. I find.
Well, the Ravens didn't have a time. Like the Steelers were the one who had to call a timeout.
I know, but it doesn't matter who called the timeout. The time you have to when they called.
They didn't stop the clock when they knew he was down. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they let it go a couple.
They should have done that when the timeout's called. For sure, you have to do that. But
you have to put time back, is what you're saying.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course, he was down. Why would the clock still? The play's over. If the play's over, doesn't the clock stop if there's a timeout? At least, or if there's injured, or if there's an injured player, they do that. They stop clock if there's an injured player. So, if the play's over and he's injured, it's over. That's it. The play's over.
Yeah.
But before we go to the next game, I just want to show you. This is their schedule. They're playing the Cowboys, the Bengals, the Jaguars, the Ravens again, the football team, the Bills, and the Bengals. Okay. Oh, sorry, and the Colts. So I think they can win all those games except like the only game that they might lose is either the Ravens or the Bills, because the Bills themselves have a very dominant team. Very great.
What do you think about the Colts? Just after the Colts are in good shape this year so far.
I don't know yet. I think even in week 8 you can't figure out every team yet. Like even the Buccaneers, who are on a tear right now,
Yeah.
I think you still can't figure them out because there are factors that we don't know yet, like AB and stuff like that. So you have to wait a little bit more. I think by
Yep.
week 10, we'll have a really good idea of where these teams are. Because that's past the second half of games, right? Because this is only the
Yeah.
halfway point. You can't base everything on the halfway point. You have to get at least into the second half. So that's my thing. But those are the only teams I think could beat them, like the Ravens again or the Bills. Okay, let's talk about another game. By the way, just quick point before I go to another game. Who knew that Ebron had a resurgence, man? That's crazy. And Chase Claypool, I guess he's a big fantasy pickup now, huh?
Yeah. He's I know from experience, yeah. But yeah, he's been really, like, it only took 1 week for him to really get going. I mean, over his last 4 weeks, last week he was quiet against the Titans, but I mean, 3 weeks ago he had, I think, 4 touchdowns that game. Then the week right after he had a nice game. He had a touchdown, lots of scrimmage yards. Last week he was quiet against the Titans. I think he only had like 1 catch for like -2 yards and maybe even fumbled the ball. And then unless that was this week maybe. And then like he caught the game-winning touchdown or the go-ahead
And him
touchdown,
and
which
Ebron
actually
had like some
game.
sick catches in this game.
Yeah, I feel like with Claypool, he's not more of a consistent guy and more of like a. I feel like they go to him a lot more like when it matters in the clutch. You saw it 2 weeks ago. I don't remember who they were playing.
Titans.
No, not against the Titans. The week before that.
Hold on. Let me take a look at this.
I think they were playing the Browns, maybe.
Hold on. Yeah, the Browns. Oh wow, they
Yeah.
smoked
So
the Browns.
yeah, the Steelers, they dominated that game, but I mean, like, you saw he was much more of a situational guy, and like all of a sudden this week, he basically won them the game because his score was the winning touchdown in the end.
Okay. So now let's move on to another game. I want to talk about one of my favorite games this week. It was an upset. It was Miami Rams, the Dolphins versus Rams. What a game. And you got to love a game that's won by special teams. Very unique kind of game. You know those two plays, right? The guy got not special teams, but very unique touchdowns. The guy got the strip sack, ran all the way down, and then on the kickoff return, or was it a punt return or
It was a
something?
punt return for
Punt
Jakeem Grant.
return. 2 just consecutive touchdowns, just like dominating. Like how crazy, and like the weirdest part of it all is that Tua looked pretty good, but I don't even know if he's like as good as we think he is. Like I don't even know. He played very safe ball. He played it safe a lot. So I don't really know. But damn, what a win. Like I thought for sure the Rams were not frauds. Maybe they're not frauds. Maybe this is just like a 1-week thing,
Right.
But like, look at that. Do you see that in the corner? Did you see that? That's the play.
Of course.
Like that
And
was crazy.
I just want to point something out, by the way, about that play specifically. That play happened because the Dolphins fumbled the ball in their own end, which allowed the Rams to get the ball there. Myles Gaskin had to carry up the middle. He fumbled it. And then what happened? Jared Goff got strip sacked, and the Dolphins ran it back for a touchdown.
He also got picked a few times.
Yeah.
So very surprising performance by Goff. He had 2 picks, so like, and also he got sacked twice, I think. Let me see. Hold on.
I think that's about right.
Yeah,
I want to
twice.
point something out,
Twice.
though. I want to point another thing out. Cooper Kupp had, I think, like 21 targets this game. I've never seen a player get that many looks.
That's correct.
21 targets. 21 targets.
No other player is even close on
Like,
either.
I saw Lockett last week. Tyler Lockett had a lot of targets, but I don't think he broke 20. Like, that's like that's crazy. And the fact that he didn't score a touchdown, like, just proves really how valuable, because he's not a touchdown. Like, the Rams don't need him to score touchdowns for their team to do well. Robert Woods got 7 targets. He caught for 85 yards and a touchdown also. He also had some rushing yards. And I like the depth that this team has personally. I feel like a lot, like if you went back a year or two, Cooper Kupp was the clear number one, right? And Woods was a number two. But like
Oh,
we mentioned it last week, how Woods has kind of grown into the same category now that Kupp was in for the last year or two, and how they're both deadly options and super consistent, and that one doesn't necessarily have any more value over the other. They both do different things.
yeah,
So
just this week, Cup was just better. But yeah, they're
they
very.
had more looks,
I mean,
yes.
there's a reason they're both the captains of the offense. So,
Yep.
and it's like funny because I feel like on Miami's side, the two best players on their offense, I feel like to me are Mike Gesicki and Devontae Parker, and they had the worst turnout on their team because I feel like a lot of the reasons they won is mostly because of like a more team-oriented game. It was no one really stepped out, and like a lot of it helped with the special teams and defense. On those.
Defense wins championships. You know what they say? They scored a couple touchdowns from defense and special teams yesterday.
I mean, how much?
Not yesterday, on Sunday. Excuse me.
Yeah. How much do you think this helps with their huge offseason acquisitions in Shaq Lawson, Kyle Van Noy, someone else, I forgot who it was. Let me look.
I mean, I like it. They're making it work. They started 0-2, then they ended up splitting their next two, so they were 1-3. They're on a 3-game win streak right now.
And Byron Jones, that's who it was.
Byron Jones.
Yeah,
and they've beaten two over their last 3 games. Okay, they got a win against the Jets, but it's not like they snuck out. Like, they dominated that game, and it's not even that they just dominated. They didn't allow a point that game. They shut the Jets out.
Like, it's not even – it's insane because you think –
It really wasn't a contest. It was 24-0 final.
Like, they didn't even score. Like,
yeah. And
like even when your team's bad or your team's losing, you at least want them to score.
Exactly. And like
that's
just
you'll
the
go
icing on the cake.
But when you score nothing, like you're like it's a goose egg for a reason because you're just sitting on it the whole game. You're just
And that's just the icing on the cake because the other 2 teams that they beat over that 3-game win streak, one was the 49ers, who are not the same team it appears to be as they were
very
last year.
Injury riddled team.
Yes.
So you can't blame them.
But they look like they're still they could be a dangerous team. Like the 49ers are not a fluke. That wasn't an easy win for the Rams, not for the Rams, for the Dolphins to pull off. And the Rams, who just beat one of the best defenses in the NFL last week and on short rest also. I mean, like that might have had something to do with it, maybe, that the Rams had a little bit less time, to prepare for this game than the Dolphins did. But the Dolphins are they're playing good football. Like, who knows? Like 2020 has been such a weird year in sports from all different kinds of areas. And now, like, even though this season is going to carry over to 2021, like, I would not be surprised to see something crazy happen in football either. I think the Dolphins in second place right now, and with momentum, could very possibly make a run. I know it's a little early to tell, but just this is something to definitely keep an eye out for.
Okay. So I don't want to talk. I think we can move on, but I don't want to talk about these games too much. But I want to just highlight the 2 upsets that I was shocked by. Like other ones happened, but this one, the Bengals, Joe Burrow beat the Titans. Like this was like, to me, this was a Joe Burrow game. Like he was absolutely dominant. I don't know how the defense, like, I wouldn't say stopped, but slowed down Derrick Henry. I think that's a huge, like, booster for your team morale, because, like you look at the whole like rushing and everything like that.
Right.
Their running backs did very well. Bernard and Perrin went in, but not even Tyler. Like Tyler Boyd had some things. He's not a running back, but like these guys had rushing touchdowns. So like,
yep.
I think it says a lot when you can have 2 capable people that go in the end zone versus the Titans who heavily rely just on Henry for their rushing, right?
I mean, Derrick Henry did have a nice. So did Nichols though. Nichols didn't seem to have such a bad game either.
It's true.
49 on 4 carries, 49 yards. Like,
I know, just compared to like Henry, look at that.
I know.
That's a monster. 18 carries for 112 yards. Like, that's pretty crazy. Obviously, it's not impressive. It's 449, but like he got a lot of yards.
Right.
It just says to how he's a workhorse. Like
exactly. No, that's
gave him
definitely true.
the defense, like, it's and also look on the bottom of your screen, like, see, that was one of the touchdowns right there.
Yep.
I'm just like, I love how aggressive Burrow's starting to be. Like him and another quarterback I'm going to talk about who also had an upset are really impressing me this year. Both drafted this year. You know what I'm talking about. But is it fair to say that we can move on to the next game?
Yeah.
So the other team, the other team that I wanted, that I was shocked by their upset was hold on, where is it? Shoot, hold on a second, folks. Well, you want to guess while I'm looking?
Yeah, I'll take a guess. I'll say it's the Browns Raiders game.
Actually, it was the Broncos Chargers game.
Really?
I was very shocked because the Browns Raiders.
Okay, I'm pretty sure Drew Lock wasn't drafted this year, but okay.
I'm sorry, I was confusing with Herbert. Herbert was drafted.
Yeah, there you have it.
No, but I'm saying I was impressed with both of them, but it doesn't mean I think they're gonna win every week. Like, I'm impressed with Joe Burrow, but he doesn't win every week. I'm impressed with Justin Herbert, but he doesn't win every week. I'm just saying I'm impressed with both of them. But he was involved in this game, and he actually he did all right. But it didn't help that he threw 2 picks of himself. But he has a solid stat line. Like, he did a better quarterback performance than Drew Lock. But I think I was very impressed at the rushing on Denver. Philip Lindsay did a lot for this team. I'm actually not sure how they won this game. I'm actually kind of shocked.
Because he was questionable coming into the game, by the way. They also played without Tim Patrick, who's been very good for them recently. He was out with an injury of some sort. I think it might be a hamstring injury he has right now.
That's true. Not sure. The Chargers aren't anything special, but you expect them to kind of beat a team like Denver, who's very depleted right now,
Well, that division is, believe it or not, pretty close between the rest of the pack behind Kansas City. The Raiders are only 1 game over 500. Denver's only 1 game under right now. Like, next week they could be tied. And then, despite the Chargers being 2-5, like, they could play competitive football. We know that.
For sure.
I don't know. That's going to be an interesting division to watch going forward from here.
Okay. I have 3 more games I want to talk about. I'll just talk about this one a little bit. Are you impressed by how close this score was between the Bears and the Saints? Are you surprised? Is better word.
I'm not surprised. Yeah, impressed definitely wasn't the right terminology to use
there.
I'm definitely not surprised that the score was as close as it was. Quite honestly, though, I was expecting it to be a lower scoring game than even 26-23. I thought it wasn't going to be more than like 17-14 or 20-17. Which isn't that much lower than this, but still is lower.
I thought somehow, like, they were going to heave a Hail Mary to Allen Robinson because that guy all game was just –
he was quiet. He was quiet today.
But he had, like, some plays –
he ended up with a nice game in the end, but overall, like –
but I'm saying he had some plays. Like, he had some –
Yeah, like, he had a touchdown for, like, 24 yards in the first half. And, like, they didn't really start throwing to him until it came late in the fourth quarter and partially into overtime. But other than that, they kind of left him out of it after he had the touchdown catch.
And on the other end, like, what can I say about Jared Cook that I don't already like? Like, I really like Jared Cook. I think he's probably one of the most underrated tight ends in the league. Like, I think people don't think about Jared Cook a lot. Also,
Kamara.
My favorite underrated player is Taysom Hill. I love Taysom Hill so much.
Yeah, he caught his I think it was his first career touchdown catch.
I don't even know how that's possible. I don't know how that guy doesn't have more touchdowns, like receiving wise, because he does everything. Like a Swiss Army knife. And the weirdest part is if Breeze retires, they're gonna have somebody else be quarterback. Like, they don't want to ruin what they have with Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. I can't imagine that. That's insane.
I just want to point out how Kamara is a running back, yet still beats everyone in targets by more than 5, like, every week.
I mean, you
This is
got.
a team that has Jared Cook and Emmanuel Sanders and Michael Thomas. Now, two of those guys were injured this week, but still, like, it happens.
I mean, you gotta love those running backs that can also do their own catch.
Yeah, like he's basically like
Kamara,
Christian McCaffrey,
Zeke,
just on
Barkley, they can
another.
all do it. It's very impressive.
Yeah,
That's another layer to the game that you can't expect. You know. Okay, so should we move on to another game? So,
yeah.
so I got one more game I want to talk to you about a lot. Another game that I told you I didn't want to talk about, but I feel like we should just because I want to. Should we talk about that one first or
Yeah, let's save the best for last.
okay. So last night, me and Josh, we watched Tampa Bay versus New York, and I didn't want to talk about this game because it broke my heart at the end. But I gotta say, I was very, very impressed the whole game because I think everyone who's like a hater on New York, like even like the commentators from Monday Night Football, they all say that there was literally no shot this game was going to be close. They thought it was going to be a blowout. The Giants were going to be embarrassed at Tom Brady at home, no fans, Monday night. Like, they thought there's no shot. Little did they know that we were actually in the lead the first half, and we had it for, like, most of the game. So, suck on that. Oh, those three guys whose name I forget. I forgot their names. I don't really care. I mean,
Steve Levy is the head guy. I know that.
Oh, Brian Greasy and I forgot the last guy. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe. I have to disagree with you. I don't think they really ripped on them.
Yes, they did. They said, "Would you?" One guy's like, "You guys." It was really funny. One of them, I don't remember who said to the other two, "Hey, you guys never would have thought that the Giants would be leading in the half." It was like, "Oh, and you were?" It's like, "No, but you guys didn't either." Like, So,
Hey, look, like they weren't wrong. Like, I'm not gonna lie, myself and Giants, you proved me wrong. I'm a Giants fan. I'm saying this though, like only as what reality would have been in a normal standpoint, which was that I didn't think it was going to be close either. I honestly thought the Giants really weren't going to have a shot, and they played well. Like,
I mean, I
especially
thought we
against
did.
Brady. I know that he's. Hmm?
I thought we had a chance for two reasons. One, Brady's our bitch. Um,
Eh, he's still Brady.
okay, and two, 1 year ago, the Giants played the Buccaneers.
Yes. Okay. I know where. I
That
know.
was a game quarterbacked for the first time by a Mr. Daniel Jones.
Yes, that
That
is
was one
true.
of the best debuts I've ever seen in my life. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, game winding down in the fourth quarter, fourth down, runs in the end zone for the game-winning touchdown. That's what I remember. So I
I
thought they
just.
were shot.
I just want to point out
They
also
had the
though.
same defense, same defensive guys.
Yes, that's true.
That's what
I just.
people don't think about that. Same guys, Sue, Pierre-Paul.
Yeah, that's true. I want to point out how just real quickly because I know you don't want to stick on this game for too long, but how it's not being shown here. I mean, like it is, but not specifically what. And that was that Daniel Jones had two shots to hit Slayton for touchdowns last night, where he just barely overthrew him,
I saw.
and
Yeah.
also the diving attempt at a catch by Sterling Shepard. This one, like I can't say this loss is on Daniel Jones, but the Giants overall really missed some very, very big opportunities to
But they made
put the
opportunities.
fork
They made opportunities you're
in
not going to
the
miss.
Bucks and do it early also, because scoring late for the Bucks is ultimately what helped them come back. Had the Giants gotten two more touchdowns, this game would have been over. But anyway.
But they did capitalize on moments you didn't think they were.
That's true.
Ingram.
That fourth down play,
Ingram. That
yeah,
was
that fourth,
crazy. And those 2 fourth-down plays by
yeah,
Jones, you
they
thought
were
it was
insane.
over both times, didn't you? Especially the first one where it looks like he's running into Sue.
Yeah, the first
That
one I
was
thought
crazy.
once he didn't throw the ball for like 2 or 3 seconds wide open in the pocket and then decided, oh, there's someone coming, like now let me run away before throw the ball, right? That's when I thought it was over. How he pulled that play off, I have absolutely no idea. And a lot of credit
Because
to
he's
Slayton.
freaking Danny Dimes. He can
Also,
do it.
A lot of credit to Slayton to stay on his feet, right, and pick up the first and not get tackled, turn it into a positive play for the first down on a down they need, which was basically the game.
And
And
the
then,
rushing, was pretty good too. I mean, I
yeah, I
don't
mean,
know what we
Wayne Gallman
saw
had a
from
nice
Wayne.
game.
I'm
Only
sure
12
people,
carries, 44 yards.
I'm sure
He
people
had
who
a
have him
couple
on
of long
fantasy were pretty
runs,
happy.
and Alfred Morris was a very, okay, I wouldn't have expected that to really be something that contributed big time. And he didn't have many runs, but I mean, he made it work for for the plays he was in. But on top of that, the thing that I was a little shocked about was that Daniel Jones didn't try to run the football more because the running game was effective for them last night. I know it doesn't look like much, only 44 yards, but in total they only had 20 attempts and they ran for over 70 yards, which isn't between the two running backs. Like it was working.
Yeah, but
So
can you blame him? He got tackled by the floor last time.
yeah, you
He's
can't. But
probably shaken up. Like you can't do that the next week. Like maybe he'll do it next week.
if it's effective, though,
I mean, no, they don't have a good run defense, so obviously it would be a good time to capitalize. Exploit that weakness. But I think he was just too shaken up over that, and people are still talking about it, which I don't think is fair.
yeah,
Because I don't think it's a fair criticism. Because look how fast he was running. Like
yeah,
people don't talk about that, And it's not like he fumbled the ball. It's not like they didn't score a play later, which they did.
it's
So
true.
it's annoying. It's not like when Deshaun Jackson and those other two guys almost ran to the end zone and they just threw it away. So it didn't even count. So it was a fumble.
Yeah.
Like that's so much dumber than what he did, in my opinion.
Okay, fine. I'll give you that.
I'm
But
saying because they
I
didn't even score.
personally would have liked to see him run a little bit more. That's just my thought.
Fair enough. But let's be honest, that pocket was collapsing very quickly. Like the O line
Yeah.
was very good in the beginning, and I don't know what happened. Like toward the end, it started being like our O line again, and I just don't know why. I don't know what the difference was.
Yep.
Very confusing. Also, Dion Lewis was in the receiving category. He was racking up statistics there, and not in the rushing. So I find that very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, but he had a touchdown on
I
one of his
know as a
interviews.
receiver though, that's what's it. He almost won us the game. If Jones throws that 2-point conversion like 2 seconds sooner, like we might be talking about a different game here.
Yeah.
Like anyway,
I just want to point out also that touchdown, last thing, that touchdown to Golden Tate. I was watching the game with a few friends over obviously with the pandemic over
by the way, that touchdown, wow.
Yes.
I thought that was Sladen for a second because of how athletic it was.
And
But it was
some guy
Golden Tate. It was Golden freaking Tate.
some guy on my on my video call, we had like 5 guys on, said, "You know what? I'm down for just like a bomb to Golden Tate out of nowhere, just for the heck of it, because he's Golden Tate. Like he had it last week. Maybe he could pull something again. The very next play,
Golden Tate can pull that out
gets
of
the bomb for the touchdown.
You could do that. He could do that if he really wants to, if he feels like it.
Yeah.
It was good. I feel like we just really did a great job. Like we stopped Ronald Jones, so everyone wouldn't shut up about the whole season. Like that was the first fumble he's had all year, I think. Like that was crazy. That play was great. That was awesome when they did that. I love when Blake Martinez did that. Although I'm not gonna lie, the guy who usually root for every week on the defense is James Bradbury, and this week he cost us with a few penalties. He really did. I didn't like the penalties. We had a lot of penalties this game.
Yeah, that penalty that he got on Mike Evans, I was a little upset about because he made contact with him being Mike Evans. But 2 things: 1, the ball hadn't been thrown yet. 2, he let go a second later. If you're going to call a penalty, I don't have a problem calling a penalty if it's holding or illegal contact, but not pass interference. The ball wasn't in the
By the
air.
way, I promise you, when they blew the whistle, I'm like, please, anything but pass interference, because that's the only one I know off the top of my head that if it's pass interference, it's where the ball's at, the spot of the foul. I hate that. I'd rather you bring us back or redo down or whatever. I'd rather that a million times. Please, just don't call pass interference. I hate that call. I hate it so much. It ruins a whole team's momentum. Everything you worked for the last 2 minutes is gone down the drain. All right, I'm not Thomas anymore. It's going to hurt me. Okay.
All right, let's move on.
This game was really good and really bad. Like, I don't know. So the Packers lost to the Vikings for some reason, and I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. Dalvin freaking Cook. Holy crap. One of the most underrated running backs in the league, or used to be. Maybe not anymore, but people have overlooked this guy due to a lot of injuries throughout the years.
He had 200 scrimmage yards, over 200 scrimmage yards, excuse me.
It's insane.
Yeah.
That's absolutely insane. He had 3 touchdowns. Do you understand that?
Just rushing.
I know. And 4. So he had 4 touchdowns. That's freaking ridiculous. When none of your running backs score a touchdown and their running back scores 3, you got a problem. Which next week we'll talk about. I think we're going to – well, I'll talk about it now because it's the trade deadline. Do you think today, in 2 hours before the trade deadline, the Packers are going to make a move for a big playmaker on offense? Because it seems, or defense, they need a shakeup. They need a trade.
I mean, I really don't think they will, but that's, I can't see that happening. I mean,
right?
Devontae Adams is back healthy. Aaron Jones is out, but that's a top.
But Aaron Jones is your whole
receiver.
running back. It's your whole run. Like Jamal Williams is good too, but Aaron Jones is a huge he's your running back. He's not there. Like that's
Williams could pick up. Like he's clearly shown that he has the capability of picking up for Aaron Jones. They are, in my opinion, the most effective running back tandem in the NFL.
No, they
really are.
They were the best duo. I mean, before that, it was probably like a while ago, Ingram and Kamara. But yeah, last year was probably 49ers guys. I don't know which two, but yeah.
Yeah, last year also they were a monster, but they were monsters.
Mostert and what's his name? Coleman?
Mostert, Coleman, Matt Breida.
Yeah, Matt Breida.
So, I just want to also go that this is the first game I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of games over my time that there have only been 2 players score touchdowns where both players total have had at least 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, by the way,
it's easy to see a game that's 10-3, right? And of course, only one player scored a touchdown the whole game. Yeah. Not when there are 7 combined touchdowns and only 2 players scored them.
They do this in hockey for every game. So let's do this right now. Who are your 3 stars of the game? Number 1, obviously, is Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
2 is Devontae Adams. And I'm wondering who number 3 is. Is it Rodgers? Is it Cousins? Or someone random I'm not thinking about? I don't even know. I'm looking at the defense, maybe seeing if anyone had sacks. Nah, just 1 sack by random people. So I don't know. I'd give it to Rodgers or Cousins. I guess Rodgers because he had 3 touchdowns, but not really. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd like to say Rodgers. I mean, he's still. I mean, look, quarterback rating was over 100 again. No picks again, right? Nearly.
You gotta love a game when it's very rare to see a game when no. I don't know, rare, but you don't see it often. A game where both quarterbacks don't throw a pick.
Yep, that too.
Because usually you like to risk it once in a while. You have a deep ball late in the game, and it just happens.
And the thing that's kind of ironic is that Adams had 3 touchdowns, yet I don't think he had over 70 yards receiving in the game. They were all very short plays. I don't know if you could see how long the biggest plays from each team were over here on that. If you could scroll down, maybe you'll find Adams wherever he is. I don't think he had more than 65, 70 yards receiving. And I don't think that his longest play had gone for more than 15 yards. I don't know. Are you able to see that here? Or?
I don't think so.
It says for rushing, at least.
For Adams, you mean? Yeah, here.
Yeah.
Look, his long was 15.
53 yards. Yeah, his longest play was for 15 yards. Doesn't change the fact that he had 3 touchdowns and still had a really good game.
Because I don't think you take it into yards when it's just a touchdown, right? Because if you're at the goal,
he also had 12 targets, so they made him.
If you're at the goal line, you're not really getting yards.
Yeah, exactly. They made him a workhorse too, though. He had over 10 targets. I think he had the most targets out of anyone in the game, is what it looks like.
Yeah, I think so.
Not even anyone on.
I mean, look how
the second most was Robert Tonyan. He only had 7 targets.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. I mean, yeah, it was a great game. I think we've said everything amazing about this week. We talked about a lot of games, so we can just go into hockey right now.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Joey.
So we're talking about which teams we think are gonna how did you say, Josh?
Kind of. I think it's a little early to maybe say it like this, but really to almost be the next dynasty of this coming decade, or maybe not decade. That might be a little too far down the road. Maybe say like the next
3-4 years,
anywhere,
maybe 5 years, but
I'd say
3
anywhere from 4 to 6 years. That's what I'd be looking at
4
right
to 6
now.
years. I'll do that. Okay.
And last week, for those of you who saw the episode, we spoke about, we went through every single team, the acquisitions they made, what we liked, what we didn't like, how solid we think they are, who could be scary teams. We both made our predictions for our very early bold predictions, which are very likely to be wrong. So like
That's why they're bold, Josh.
exactly. And we went through every team's moves that they had done so far up to that point. So, Joe, you have all the divisions out in front of us right now. But I personally,
how do you want to do this? Do you want to go from least to most, or do you want to just go through every team we see in order?
So here's what I think we should do. I think, or at least what I'm thinking, is that we should pick the clear juggernauts from the last 2 or 3 years and try to compare them to the teams we think could be very much within that conversation over the next 4 to 6 years, and maybe try to compare to what those teams going forward might have in common to what these couple teams have had over the last few years.
Okay, but keep in mind that in the last 2-3 years, the Cup winners, the Cup guys, one of the teams usually isn't in the same level the next year.
That's true. No, I'm not saying it like that.
If we're talking a collective 3 years just dominance, even if they haven't made the Cup final, I gotta say, in the last 3 years, you gotta give one of the spots to Vegas.
Yes.
What Vegas has done in the last 3 years is absolutely phenomenal. They'd probably be in the Cup final last year if it wasn't for a stupid call. Remember that call, Carlson?
Yeah, I don't let's not. I think it was Eakin. It wasn't Carlson.
Whoever it was. And then what was it? 3-4 goals in the power.
4 power play goals. They had to get a game tire with the empty
net. Again, you shouldn't really be talking. You kind of deserve to lose if you do all that. But still, they had an advantage that wasn't deserved. But still, it's frustrating. And this year, they just had a crazy. Vancouver was very not Vancouver.
Dallas. They were on a roll.
Dallas was just phenomenal this year.
You couldn't beat Hudobin. You couldn't. In the first 3 rounds, the guy wasn't letting shots in the net. He just wasn't.
Right. So that's
there were some exceptions, but
in the collective 3 years, solid. In the collective 3 years, that's definitely a contender. And on the East, I think we can't give a collective 3 years to anyone else except for Tampa. I think Tampa in the last 3 years, maybe Colorado, but definitely Tampa.
I think it's fair to say Boston might be up there with their last few years.
Then I'd rather put Boston than Tampa because Boston's gone farther.
No, not over Tampa, but up there within the same kind of conversation.
Okay, Boston and Tampa. So those are the 3 teams, to me, that have had the most dominant runs in the last 3 years. Boston, Tampa, Vegas. Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like none of them, but all 3 of them could possibly have to give up the throne. I think Vegas is going to be the hardest now because they got Pietrangelo, but I feel like losing Paul Stastny may or may not hurt them. We'll have to see the development of Cody Glass, and we'll have to see if that doesn't work out, that Alex Tuch will move up to maybe play center, and Cody Glass will solidify the third line. So that will all depend on that. The reason I think Tampa is going to have to lose its seat is for obvious reasons. Money, 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 money. Once again, what I talked about earlier, in a pandemic year, lack of sales with the seats and concessions, it affects your team. And there's also a salary cap. And you spent a ton of money on contracts. So
they made a push for it last year. It paid off, but they really kind of hurt themselves.
It pays off, but it doesn't. You sell your soul when you do this for one championship. Obviously, some people it's enough, but you want to be a dynasty in this league. It's very hard to win multiple times.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and it's not like they hadn't had chances before. I mean,
they had a ton of chances.
Yeah, ever since 2014, ever since 2000 during the 2013-14 season, that was the first of from then to the 2019-20 season, which was the most recent one. They only missed the playoffs once. They had been to the
That was
conference
hilarious.
finals like 4 or 5 different times. They had been to the finals twice, right? The first one they lost in 2015. The next year they go back to the conference finals. Then they take off a year and they don't make the playoffs. And then ever since that conference final run, right, could have beat the Caps, came up short in Game 7, right? And then the shocking loss to the Blue Jackets, but one of the best regular seasons, if not the best we've ever seen in NHL history.
I'm saying
and then this year cap it off with a title.
I'm saying if they didn't win this year, their run would have been so wasted. Like the only other, like they didn't have nobody. The only like the Rangers had a better run than everybody except for them. Like in terms of like conference finals, Stanley Cup appearances, and the only way to my mind that if Tampa Bay would supersede that is if they made another cup, made it to the conference finals, and then won the cup. And they did. But if they didn't do that, I wouldn't think they're better than like the Rangers run personally. But like, yeah, they did. And like, it's going to cost them because guess what? You got Cirelli and Sergachev, and there's no way in hell you can pay both of them unless you get rid of some of your stars. You got to get rid of
And this comes also with the fact that they just re-signed Patrick Maroon also.
Which I don't get. Like, he's a great depth guy, but he already won the championship the last 2 years. Why do you need him? Like, he's a great depth guy, but why does he want to be like he chose to be in St. Louis and he chose to be in Tampa. I don't know why he chose to stay there versus like maybe something happened or maybe because St. He
knows? Maybe
he just did it as a favor to St. Louis because he's from St. Louis, but he really just wanted to be in a team that he liked.
Maybe he'll want to be traded. Who knows? I think it's a little early to get in like, why really, as opposed to like with Tampa's situation at least. So, I think it'll be interesting to see where that goes. I agree with both your points. Why do you think the Bruins could not own their spot?
Because they lost Krug and Big Z is – I don't even know what Big Z's status is, but he's fallen out. Pasternak's going to be injured the first half of the season.
That's true.
They lost who did I say? And they lost some and Rask. I don't know what's gonna happen with Rask, but like all that drama for him leaving the bubble is gonna mess up their chemistry a ton. I do like the signings of Greg McKagan and Craig Smith, but those aren't anything special. They're good depth guys, but like I don't know. I just also the fact that everyone thought they were so good, and then they got exposed by the Lightning. So like they almost lost to the Hurricanes, No,
they didn't. They won that series in 5 games.
No, but I'm saying when they didn't they lose the first game?
I don't remember which game they lost. I know it wasn't early. I know it wasn't later.
They got destroyed by the Lightning. They got wrecked.
After winning game 1, I think also.
Every team that played the Lightning this year got wrecked except for the Stars. The Stars put up a really good fight. Like every team. So it's just hard to believe. It's just hard to believe. Anyway, let's talk about who we think we could take over. So I'm just going to skip over New Jersey and New York because I don't think New Jersey is very far from it, and I think New York's also having cap problems, so they're going to have to figure that out. So I don't think they're going to have a shot. One team that I think has a really very bright future, Josh, is the Montreal Canadiens. Oh, my God, what an offseason. You trade for Edmondson, you re-sign Petrie, you trade for Josh Anderson, you sign Tyler Toffoli. What an offseason. Yeah. What a very exciting offseason for these guys. Because last year I would have said Vancouver would be the thing, right? But guess what?
They got rid of Tanev.
Guess what? No Tanev, no Markstrom, no Toffoli, no Stetcher.
So, you get Braden Holtby and Nate Schmidt though back. To be like not back as like been on the team.
Holtby's all right, but like he's like a Lundqvist, like he's old. Like you just don't, I don't think I have the same faith in him. I think it'll be fine because he's a backup and they have Demko, but I'm not gonna be relying on them to win the games that he's gonna start. Definitely not in the playoffs, not anymore. And with Schmidt, I like Schmidt, very cheap deal, and will definitely help them in the long run with age and contract wise. But but they lost big pieces.
Yeah, Toffoli and Stetcher did hurt,
It
obviously.
hurt them a lot. Like, those are people they were trying to re-sign. I can't believe they didn't. Like, it's hard to believe who's having a worse offseason, Jim Rutherford or Jim Benning, because, like, Pittsburgh traded Hornqvist for Matheson,
Yeah.
and like I don't know what they're doing. Like, they did all this random stuff. I don't know what they're doing. He let Schultz go. He let Schultz go
to a division rival.
Yeah, like, to Washington of all places. Like, I don't know what they're doing, these two teams. Now, on paper, maybe like 5 years ago, I would say Washington's so exciting because they got Schultz and Lundqvist and I don't think they're exciting. Let's see who else. I'm not excited for Buffalo. I think Detroit had a good offseason, but they need time. Florida lost pieces, so they're farther away. Ottawa got – I actually like
Florida. Florida acquired Hornqvist, though.
Yeah, but they lost Dadonov.
Kind of makes up.
Okay, then they're exactly where they were. They're exactly where they were.
Well, to be fair, though, the offense wasn't the problem that was holding them back.
I mean, it was the defense. What I'm saying is, like,
it wasn't the defense strictly either. It was a guy by the name of Sergei Bobrovsky who got paid handsomely and really didn't play anything close to what he was expected of.
Can you blame him? That run he had the year before against Tampa was phenomenal. They almost went to the conference final.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And the fact that he didn't come close to playing even slightly on par with that was just, like, heartbreaking for a lot of Panthers fans, I'm sure. And I'm sure they know that if they get vintage Bobrovsky, that they could easily have a cup under their belt.
I don't know about easily. You still got to worry about the Western teams. Like,
okay, they could be a juggernaut is my point.
Sure. So looking at Ottawa, I actually really dig how surprisingly good their offseason was. They got Matt Murray, right? They got what's his name? Did they get they got someone else. They got Dadonov. They got
Dadonov.
And they got one more.
And Galchenyuk.
And they got someone else. And then they drafted 3 very interesting prospects. So they have a very bright future.
They do.
Say. Because the reason why Ottawa hasn't been so successful is because they have the cheapest owner in the league. So the only way they're going to do well is through the draft and through, like, sneaky good trades, like trades that other teams need to make, you know? Okay. Well, who haven't I covered yet that I want to, like, I'm going in, like, excitement levels. So
I feel like we should break it up by conference. Like, you'll do your picks for the conference, I'll do mine, and then we'll go to the next conference.
Okay, so what do you want to do? I did from both, so which one should I continue on? West or East?
No, I'm saying, like, now I'll give my picks on the East.
No, I didn't do all East and West. I did most, so I have to finish it out, one of them.
Yeah, so finish it out.
Which one?
Well, you were just on Ottawa, so keep going down the list.
Okay. Sure. So I didn't go in order though, but I will finish it out. Okay. So Toronto. This is the hardest one to call. This is the most scenario. This is, what if scenarios? This is the most what if scenario team in the whole league.
Yep.
Because it could either fail spectacularly or be amazing. You have so many, like, low risk, high reward type things here, or maybe more in case high risk, high reward, because you got all these relics on your team now. Okay, you got TJ Brody, you got Jimmy Vesey, you got Wayne Simmons, and you got Joe Thornton and Jason Spezza. Granted, Spezza was there already, but still, like, look at all these relics you have. Like, I don't even know what to think. Okay, I'll do the Rangers last, though. I'll do East, West, and then Rangers, okay?
No, do the Rangers last in the Eastern Conference.
No, but I want to talk them last. That's why I want to do West. Okay?
I mean, you could do it. I'm going to touch on whatever you don't, then.
No, but I want to do Rangers last.
Okay, so whatever, do it.
No, I'm saying last.
I'm saying keep going.
Well, are you going to comment if I don't?
I'm going to comment whether you do or don't. So
can you wait for me to comment?
I'm just waiting for you to finish up your list in the East.
Okay. Carolina. Not sure. they're okay, I guess. I mean, had a good run the year before. This year they got kind of blown out by Boston.
Again.
Again, yeah. I don't know. Maybe if Justin Williams comes out of retirement again, they have a shot. I actually like what Columbus is doing. Max Domi, Mikko Koivu, and Max Domi, Mikko Koivu, and Pierre-Luc Dubois, your 1-2-3 centers. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Their goaltending looks good also. Korpisalo and Merzlikins could turn out to be a very good tandem.
Yeah, and we all know how good their defense is with Werenski and Jones. So,
Yep.
very exciting team. I will talk about the Rangers. Actually, I'll do Philly. I forgot Philly. Philly, also very exciting team. I don't know how far they can go, but looking good with Carter Hart. Konechny, Provorov, Hayes. They got a good core there, So, who knows? Okay. Tell me your East, Josh. Then I got to go in a few minutes.
All right. So, my East, I think that number one, with all due respect to your pick in the Canadians, has to be the Rangers. I know you want to touch on it, so I'll go with just like the basics. I'll leave the rest to you. If you look at that team on paper, right, some of those names might not seem so scary as, like real, like juggernaut players, the guys who have been, doing it at the highest level possible in the NHL, right? Obviously, there's only one name on that list that really scares people, maybe two, and that is Artemi Panarin and Mika Zibanejad. Kreider's a good veteran presence, but I don't think he's like at the elite wing side yet, if really ever. I hope he does. I'd like to see that, but,
Maybe. We'll see. He has a few years to prove it on his contract, so.
Yeah. Like, I don't mind the contract they gave him. But I think that the thing that so many people forget about is their prospect pool, as we mentioned, where they have the most recently, the first overall pick, Alexis Lafreniere. They've drafted Brendan Schneider also in the first round, trading up to get him. Capo Caco from last year, the second overall pick. Who knows what could happen with him? If all three of those guys become the players they really think they could become, that could be a deadly lineup. And then you throw in nice depth in the offense as well. They lost Fast, but you have Hedel, who's only been getting better. Buchnevich, who only has 1 year left on his contract, but could still, he could still get the job done. He had a career year last year, I think, like just under 50 points, and not playing the full season. And the biggest thing, though, I think this team could live and die by is the goaltending this year. It's a big, fat question mark. We know what they're capable of, but we don't know who it's going to come down to, whether it's going to be Georgiev, who had a great year this past year, or if it's going to be Igor Shesterkin, who made NHL history in his first 10 starts. So that's what I have to say about this team. I think that, like, they're all young. And also the defense. Like, they re-signed D'Angelo. They've got Fox as a prospect still, who's been absolutely amazing last year. I think he finished, like, third in the Rookie of the Year voting, maybe in the top 5. I don't know about third. And then the guys in their prospect pool who haven't come to the NHL, like Keandre Miller and Nils Lundqvist still. Schneider's a defenseman. I can't see how this team won't be very, very good within the next, like, 4 to 6 years. It might take some time, but I think that they're on the right track, and I don't think anyone has a better future than they do as of now. Joey, what are your thoughts?
All right, you know what? Screw the West. I'm doing this quick. Anaheim, bright future. Arizona sucks. Calgary, bright future. Edmonton sucks. LA sucks. San Jose, bright future. I meant the opposite for LA and San Jose. Winnipeg, Stastny maybe. St. Louis, bright future. Krug, Nashville, Askarov, Minnesota sucks. Dallas, bright future. Colorado, brightest future. Chicago, I don't know. So Colorado there. Obviously, it's the Rangers. Are you kidding me? Look at all those prospects you just said. I don't even know if you mentioned Zach Jones and Matthew Robertson. Also,
I didn't.
Those guys are very exciting too. And we got other prospects also in other areas. In goalie, we have Tyler Wall, who people are saying is a beast. And on our forwards, we have a ton of forwards I'm very excited for, like Morgan Barron, right? Morgan Barron I'm very excited for. And Patrick Kordorenko, and there's some guy named Henriksen. And there was one more. And
Kravtsov also. I didn't
and
mention
Kravtsov,
Kravs.
Vitaly Kravtsov, who's lighting it up right now in the KHL.
Yeah.
And I think if Kako is what we think he is, oh my God, this thing's gonna be scary. I don't know about Schneider. I think you have to wait a little bit for him. I don't know if he's ready yet. Hope maybe if he is, that's great. But he's gonna
Well,
have
it's
to
kind of like next man up though, because if Keandre Miller and Nils Lundqvist comes up, then Schneider could take the place of one of those two in their
prospect.
minor system.
It probably will happen. I'm hoping it happens. I'd rather give it to those two than anyone else. I don't even though I like Hayek, but yeah, that's what I'd rather do. And oh my God. And even the people we have now, I'm excited with. I love Hedel. He could really break out this year. He seems very
Yeah.
exciting. I feel like the only guy I don't like on that team is Howden. He's the only guy I got a problem with.
I do remember you saying you thought he was going to get traded for one of your
I
predictions.
think he's going to be He's going to be what's it called? He's going to be exposed in the expansion draft for Seattle.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I like him. He's done some nice things, but he's just not the player they
He's
were
not the
hoping
guy.
to have
He's not the
gotten in
guy.
that trade.
I think they're going to have to rely on one of their recent free agent signings on those depth guys like Bentetto or Blackwell or Rooney or something. One of those guys are going to take his spot on the fourth line or something. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
And let me ask you, in terms of the goaltending, because I know how high you are on believing in Igor Shesterkin and Georgiev, more Igor than Alexander Georgiev, but I don't think, as much as I would like to believe that could be the best goaltending tandem in the league, if not one of the best, then I can't get behind it just yet because they're both so young and they've both shown great things, especially this past year. But I wonder if because it was such a small sample size, if that was just luck for the time being, or if that's actually something that could continue forward. And we know what they both can play like. The question is, they're both about to get a full season together. Lundqvist was still on the team last year, so
yeah, but he
now
didn't
that he's
play. He
gone,
didn't play what he wanted to. So they played
right,
a ton over him.
right, but
Yeah, but
still,
how many could you actually say are better than him? I could say maybe 3 or 4. I could say
you're talking
Arizona,
about Shesterkin and Georgiev, or both as a tandem?
the duo. I would say
Okay.
Arizona maybe with Ranta and
And Kemper, yeah.
Kemper. I would say Dallas with Khudobin and Bishop, but then again, Bishop's kind of injury prone, so maybe not anymore.
Well, Hudobin's still great though.
I used to say
Definitely took a step up in the playoffs.
yeah, but I'm saying tandem.
Yeah, fine.
And then Vancouver used to have it, not anymore. Maybe I give it to Calgary now, but I don't know if Rich is on that level, so I don't
Well,
know.
what do you think about Rask and Halak though? They were both great this past year.
Halak was a great backup, but I never thought he was a good starter ever.
Okay.
I
Thomas
never.
Greiss and Semyon Varlamov also had a great year for the Islanders.
I thought they were both all right. I don't think that's why they were as successful as they did. I think it was a lot of it on Barzell. He did a ton for that team.
Yeah, they're a much more defensive oriented team though.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, I really don't see any other ones here. I'm looking.
I like the duo of Francouz and Grubauer personally.
I knew people were gonna say that, but I know Grubauer is a beast. I just don't believe in Francouz that much as he could be a starter.
Really?
He could pull out. I think he did a good job in the playoffs. I just don't know. I think he just has one of the best defenses around him. I think that really helps him.
Okay.
I don't think anyone could beat the Rangers in the goalie tandem. I actually don't think. I think there's way too much upside on both of them. We'll see. We'll see this year.
Yeah, we should. Whoa. Also, what about Leonard and Fleury this past year? I totally forgot about Vegas. They were monsters also.
Oh, wow. Okay, I think I'd have to give it to them then. Maybe. But then again, there's all that drama, and that plays into in the locker room.
Yeah, but I'm saying, for what it was this past year. This was the only year it happened, but still.
Yeah, but it's probably not going to happen again.
Okay.
We're saying for the future. So.
Oh yeah, they re-signed.
But if you want to say past year, I'd say Vancouver. Then are you kidding me? Markstrom and
right.
Demko, but I'm saying for the future, it might not happen again.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna quickly make my picks because I know you wanna wrap this up. I don't know if you could pull that screen back up.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
All good. Yeah. Chicago, too unpredictable. Probably not so bright. Colorado, I agree with you. Brightest future. Dallas, looking good right now. They have a lot of young players on this team. They could go far. Minnesota, it's a little iffy to call. I don't think they're in too bad a situation, but it could definitely be better. Nashville, I just don't like because most of the pieces on that team are still from the 2016-17 run, and it's 3-4 years past already. St. Louis, I like St. Louis, but I don't know how long they'll be able to keep that core together. Perron's a little bit older, right? They lost Pietrangelo, even though they replaced him with Krug, but still, the only really like super bright spot I see on that team is Jordan.
Ryan O'Reilly.
Oh, and O'Reilly. And Winnipeg, no, I think they're going to have to sell a lot of their assets off, even though they just resigned Stastny. Anaheim, I like where they are right now. Arizona, it looked really good after last year, but now that they don't have Taylor Hall, they're going to have to trade off assets again.
No depth in Richardson.
Yeah, like Richardson's gone too. Calgary, a little shaky. Edmonton has some nice young players. I like them. Los Angeles, nothing really sticks out to me. You know, that core is still really just like Kopitar, Doughty, Brown, and maybe throw like Alex Iafallo in there these days. So I don't know. It's going to be a little –
In Byfield now.
Yeah, but I'm saying like
okay.
all of those other guys are not going to be there too much longer, in my opinion. Okay. San Jose, they have some interesting looking players too. Vancouver looks good, but obviously those 4 players we spoke about earlier definitely hurt them by losing. Vegas looks good. I'm just worried about, honestly, the expansion draft coming up for them. I think could be their biggest problem.
It's funny because it's not really their biggest problem, because it's not a problem for anyone really, because usually a team will only take one player from each team. Obviously it's not exactly like that, because they can't take only 30 players. They gotta take a little bit more.
Right.
No wait. I'm saying only 1 or 2 teams will take more than one player from another team. Like Vegas only has multiple players from Florida, I think, right? Riley Smith and Jonathan Marchessault, which still astounds me to this day. Oh my gosh.
They also had the former coach and Gerard Gallant their first couple of years.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. So
regardless of that, quickly, my thoughts on why the Avalanche are the best. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog is probably the best line in the NHL. Yeah, I'm saying it
is the best line in the NHL.
Yeah, like I
don't
think
better than Boston, better than Tampa.
Like 100%. Yeah, I held doubts, and it was like somewhat debatable now. But after like thinking about it, no, that's the best line in the NHL. No other answer. Not accepting. Not even
all 3 guys are all stars.
Like like all 3 of those guys would start on any other team. It's just that's just the way it is.
You would on any other.
And then Burakovsky, they keep him around after a very good year, right? You've got the Kadri trade only got it only looked better and better for them as the year progressed.
Especially because the Leafs lost Barry.
Exactly, that too.
So,
and like, you know, the Avalanche.
That buzzer beater he had was just so opposite of Tyson Barrie in Toronto. Not Tyson, Nazem Kadri.
Now, the loss of Nemesnikov does hurt a little bit, but you could still have a guy like Tyson Joe step up and play second line, right? He could be very good for them. And you could bring a guy like, I forget his first name, but I think O'Connor, he stepped up in the playoffs, a very good depth player. He could come in, solidify a guy on the 4th line who could step to the 3rd line. That 3rd line, you still have guys like, even if Joe stays on the 3rd, then you have a 3rd line of Jost, Donskoy, JT Comper, right? You still have, right? You have guys like Kamenev and Nichushkin still, right? And I think Matt Calvert's still around with Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. Like, they have the best depth in the NHL, in my opinion. I don't think it's close. And on top of that, in my opinion, like, this may sound a little bit biased because I'll be the first to say Nathan McKinnon is my favorite player in the NHL, hands down. I think he's definitely up there in the conversation for arguably the best player in the NHL.
I think
because McDavid is clearly number one.
I think I'd rather put McDavid. I think
they both play very similar style. Like, they both, you know, they're speed demons. They would go up and down the ice, go back and forth, play defense, skate around their entire zone with the puck on their stick for God knows how long, trying to set everything up. Right?
I think it
close. Works.
I think it's very close. I just think McDavid's just a little bit better. Very close.
Like, I'm not gonna be the one to hammer McDavid. Like, he's been doing it a little bit long. Like, he hasn't been in the NHL as long as McKinnon, but he's been way more consistent. We only saw McKinnon really hit this mark 2 or 3 years ago. McKinnon was in the league since 2013-14, and he really, like, other than his rookie year, really never showed anything special. He was a highlight reel play guy, but that's like all he would do, and it wouldn't be on a consistent level. Now he's arguably the best player in the NHL. That's why I think McDavid is better, though. He's been doing it for a lot longer at a consistent rate than, like, you know, longer in general, because he hasn't been in the NHL as long as McKinnon. But on top of that, that goaltending, to me, is a top 3 tandem in the NHL. I know you're not a major, fan of Pavel Francouz, but Grubauer's young and only getting better and still very good as it is. And in my opinion, Francouz is a really, really good backup. I feel like a lot of people underrate him. I feel like people do that because of the fact that Grubauer has been a little bit injury prone in the playoffs, and Francouz is not used to picking up, in the biggest spot, like when it really matters, a lot more. I don't think he has enough experience to do that, but I think both are very young. Both have so much more to learn and so much more to give for their team, and could very well be one of, if not the deadliest tandems in the NHL. And I'm saying this being a Rangers fan also. I think they definitely have the two brightest futures. And last but not least, the defense, Cale Makar, Sam Girard, right? Eric Johnson, contract not so great, but we know what he's capable of, right? Ian Cole with the depth, right? And they just brought in Devon Toews too. And they have Bowen Byram waiting to come up, the 4th overall pick from, I think it was either last year or 2 years ago. Like, what does this team not have to be excited for? They're basically the Rangers of the West. I would say they might even be a little bit better for where they are now because they've been a little bit ahead of schedule.
The reason – are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to close this out because I want to go. I got to go.
For it.
So this is the one reason why it's a different story. That's not the question. The question is who is the brightest future? And you want to know what the Avalanche don't have that the Rangers do have? They don't have the prospect pool. Not a prospect pool. They don't have the pool. They don't have the Olympic-sized pool of prospects that we have. Which, as good as they are now, I do not think they have a better future than the Rangers. I think it's like they're neck and neck, but I think the Rangers easily supersede them because of all the possible people they could bring up in the next 2 years, 3-4 years. Like, oh my God, what a team this could be. You could fix all your problems with salary cap and with depth and chemistry just by picking players out of the pool. You're the GM lifeguard. You save your prospect from the pool from drowning. Boom, now they're your starter. Now they're the lifeguard. Okay?
Yeah. I think it's fair to say that the Avalanche have the better offensive prospect pool while the Rangers have the better defensive prospect pool, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, but Rangers also do have solid offensive and goalie prospects.
That's true. But I'm saying, like, currently for the moment also. And the reality is all those players we've listed in the Rangers prospect pool haven't come up yet, while the Avalanche are almost there, like right now.
Yeah, but we're talking about future, so future includes prospects more.
I'm saying, but it goes from now until, like, the next 4 to 6 years. So I'm saying, like, look, like, don't get me wrong. I don't think anyone could have a future really better than either of these teams. But in my opinion, like, I don't think there's a clear favorite between these two. I think it's very close to call.
Well,
like,
I do.
Either one of them could
have
it.
I think the prospect pool speaks for itself.
Okay, like, that's fair to say. That's very valid.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a little more tied between it right now.
Okay, I think they're better. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you for joining us to the JJ Sports Podcast. Please like and subscribe, or don't. I don't really care. Vote.
Also, get in the comments, guys. Let us know what you think. How wrong you think we are. How stupid you think we are, because we're not going to change it.
Yeah, call us out in the comments. Let us know how good we are, how bad we are, if we're frauds or not. Go out and vote or don't. I don't really care. Anyways, have a good day. See ya.